DJI made a GoPro, and I got one. For the record, they're not paying me for this, and they didn't send it to me for free. I bought it with my monies, so... This is the just released DJI Osmo Action camera, and it is DJI's GoPro. Today I'm going to unbox the Osmo Action. I'm gonna talk through some of the features that they talk about and promote. I'm gonna take it out, shoot some footage with it so we can kind of go through, actually see what it looks like, and then I'll wrap it all up with my final thoughts on the DJI Osmo Action camera. The designers had the GoPro in mind when they were designing this thing, so all throughout today, I will be talking about the GoPro Hero 7 Black, how they compare a little bit, but in the future, I'll make a really in-depth test. Today, I'm mainly gonna focus on this camera, but you kind of can't talk about this camera without talking about this, cause look how, look how similar they are. They made a GoPro. Picked up this little guy. Oh yeah, that's gonna work. I picked up one of these pieces so I can mount the cameras side by side. So as I go out and get test footage with the Osmo, I will have the same footage with the Hero 7 Black. All right, first things first, we need to unbox the Osmo so I can get it charged up. Oh, there it is. So the first thing inside here is the DJI Osmo Action camera itself. Dink, little box right here. All right, in the box we have the DJI Osmo Action Cam. It is, it's already inside the frame, which is the mounting piece here. And this frame has the two-pronged GoPro mount on the bottom. So this action camera can mount to any GoPro mount that's ever been made, which is huge because the GoPro mount world and accessories world it's an industry in itself. It's an entire industry built around accessories for the GoPro that pretty much all now work with the Osmo Action. Genius on DJI's part. Here is the battery. The battery actually comes in a case, like so, and the battery has the battery door already mounted to the battery, which is super interesting. I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but comes with a case. Battery fits inside the case, and ooh, oh yeah, check that out. So there's actually a bit right there to hold a memory card. So with this little case, you could have a battery, an extra memory card, and just plop a couple of these in your bag. That's a clever touch. Thanks, DJI. Right here is a circular flat mount, looks like, with a really weird piece on it. I don't really, oh, check this out. All right, so this is the quick release mount that they keep talking about. So their mounts, unlike a GoPro's flat mount has their little mounting piece, which uses these guys. So you mount your GoPro to this piece and then it snaps in there. And then to get it out, you gotta like squeeze, always hurt your fingers. And it looks like DJI is addressing that with this piece. Theirs is like a twist. So it goes on here and it locks in. And then you just press that little tab and the whole thing cranks out. That'll be interesting to see the difference between this mounting system and this mounting system, but I like that it's quick release, that's cool. And the locking screw, and ooh, that's super interesting. So they went with a different shape for their locking screw head. This seems like one of those super mundane things, but in actual usability, when you're using an action camera, this screw right here, it means a lot. In my GoPro accessories video, which if you haven't seen, but you are looking at action cameras, click here, because every one of those accessories is gonna work with this, or almost every one of them. But in that video, I talked about GoPro's locking screw, which looks like this, and it's terrible. Mainly, you just can't get a good grip on the thing, and if it's cold or this gets dirty, it's impossible to really get like a good crank tight, and then once it's like locked because it's dirty, it's impossible to get off. So I use this one by GoPro, which has like a little extra bit on it, and that just gives you enough torque that even if it's locked down, you've been snowboarding or surfing, and it's just cranked in there, you can still get enough torque just with your fingers to get it off. You don't have to use like a wrench or something stupid like that. And DJI went with kind of a wing nut style, which for sure is more torque. You can get more torque out of this one than you can out of the normal GoPro. I don't know between these are about, I'm gonna like this. This is something, good job, DJI. It's like DJI was just sitting there with a GoPro in their hand and they went, what do people not like about this thing? Let's fix it. Osmo Action camera, the frame, the battery case with battery, 2 mounts, the quick release plate, a USB-C cable, and a locking thumb screw. I think that's everything in the box. I'm gonna get the battery installed here, hoping that there's some charge in it from the factory. Ooh. I'm gonna turn that off. I do not like my things beeping at me. Activate with DJI Mimo. Scan the QR code or install the DJI Mimo app from App Store. Okay. All right, got the Mimo app. Agree. Sure. How do I do this? Ah, crap. Oh no, right, that is. No, go back. Activate Osmo Action. DJI, why do you always make me log in? Confirm, yes, activate, do it. Activation success, Osmo Action, dope. All right, activated. That wasn't so bad. It took me like 3 minutes to set up and I had to log into DJI's app, but now it's walking me through a little tutorial on the device. Firmware update, no. Before I go test out this camera, I wanna talk through some of the features really quickly, and the first one and most obvious is dual screens. It has a 2.25 inch screen on the back, which is noticeably larger than GoPro's 2-inch screen on the back, but where GoPro just has a little LED thing on the front that'll tell you some information like numbers, how many shots you have left, things like that. This camera has a 1.4 inch selfie screen on the front of it, full color, wait for it, screen switch. Nah! Oh, that's killer. And this is what I think is this camera's killer feature. And the reason is that this is a problem that has plagued GoPro users for years. You would take your GoPro out, you'd point it at yourself on a stick or something like that, you'd walk around talking, or you'd be doing something like snowboarding or surfing, and you thought it was pointing at you, or you hoped it was, but you don't know the framing, you don't know what you're looking at. And then you kind of got on the computer and you were like, let's see if I got the shot, because you legit didn't know if you got the shot. With this camera and the selfie screen on the front, I can just look at it and I can tell I'm perfectly framed up in this shot right now. Ooh, there's a little latency on it. Oh yeah. Oh, there's like a half a second latency on the front screen. So if I move the camera, then it moves. Interesting. Hopefully they fix that. The second feature that I want to talk about is Rock Steady, which is their stabilization built in. And it addresses another issue that GoPro users have had for years, and it's shaky footage. With a camera this small, any little thing that your hand does, the camera does. So if you're holding a big camera, like a big cinema camera, and your hand goes like this, you don't see it in the footage because of inertia.
That's science, very interesting.
So because of inertia, a large camera with little inputs from your body, little shaking things, you don't see it in the camera. But when a camera is really tiny, it doesn't weigh very much, any little input that you give it, you see in the footage. GoPro Hero 7 Black answered that 6 months ago with something called Hyper Smooth, and it's good. It's really good. DJI is calling it Rock Steady, and I've heard it's even a little better. This looks like you're on a gimbal, so I'm excited to see what this looks like. Some other notable features of the camera is it has a removable lens cap, which is super easy. You just you twist it off, which is amazing. One, because I wanna have like 5 of these laying around, because I don't wanna be out shooting something, have me either drop the camera on its lens or a rock jump up and hit this, ding it, and then I can't shoot my camera anymore that day. That's silly. If you've got a few of these laying around, boom, you just pop a new one on, screw it in, crank it down nice and tight, and you're ready to rock. Now, obviously, this also opens up the ability to screw on and off ND filters and polarizers. Polar Pro has already come out with a set. They're making a 3-pack ND filter, a 5-pack ND filter, and a polarizer set. And it's pretty sweet. They have like a little system where you screw one on, and then the rest of them are magnetic. They kind of just click on and off. I'll link them below. I don't have them yet, but but I will. Another notable feature is the battery door that I talked about before, where the battery itself has the door attached to it. Again, a GoPro has a battery door. You open the battery door, you pull out the battery. This is built into one, so the battery has like a little gasket around it, and you pop it in there, you push both sides. Feels like it's in there. The battery life is said to be 95 minutes. We'll see if we get anywhere close to that in our testing. This camera can do 4K at 60 frames per second at 100 megabits per second, which is pretty high quality video. It can do 4K HDR video as well, so high dynamic range, which is awesome. But you lose the rock steady stabilization while you're shooting in HDR mode. So if you have this thing just kind of propped up, shooting a cool sunset time lapse or something like that, or just shooting some cool video on a tripod, HDR mode will be great. Anyways, in the 4K HDR mode, you lose the stabilization. At 1080, it does 240 frames per second, which is on par with the GoPro as well. So that's super slow motion look. It can shoot photos at up to 120 seconds shutter speed, which you'd normally only use for like night photography. And I don't know that I'd use this camera for night photography. I'm gonna try it for sure, but I'm skeptical. And lastly, like any action camera worth their salt, it is fully waterproof. This says down to 11 meters and the GoPro says down to 10 meters. I feel like DJI just did that to be like a, we can go a meter deeper. What? It also has voice commands built into the camera like the GoPro, but with the GoPro, you have to say, hey GoPro, and then say your command. With this, you just say it and it does it. Switch screens. I love talking to things and they do it. And lastly, I've noticed something that they call custom modes, which is a screen in here where you can save different settings. So you could have your slow-mo setting set up for 60 frames a second or 240 at 1080, and then you have a vlogging set up for 4K at 24 frames a second, and quickly just tap, switch, tap, switch. That's genius. All right, with all that said with the features, I'm gonna get both of these cameras into this mounting system, go out, shoot a bunch of test footage, and then I'll be back here to review the test footage with you. All right, that's the rig I'm gonna go out with. This is the UK Pole 54, which by far is the best pole you can get for action cameras. And I'll link this piece below as well. But yeah, I got both cameras mounted up next to each other so I can go out like this and get some sweet test footage. I'm gonna go do that, and then I'm gonna come back here. It'll feel like a second for you, but it'll be hours for me, and then we'll review the footage together. Son of a bitch. Fell down on my skateboard. I was going down the boardwalk in Pacific Beach, getting this really cool shot with this on here, and I was holding it by the skateboard, and it was in slow motion, 1080, 240 frames a second, and so I was like doing things with the skateboard because I thought it was gonna look cool in slow motion, and then I hit a patch of sand, and the board just went gaga, and I fell down. And then I just saw the GoPro go bouncing away from me because this must have hit, and that little piece that I just bought did not hold. I wonder if I could gaff tape it back together, because there was a couple more tests I was gonna do, but I broke it. All right, I'm gonna import all this footage, and then we'll talk through what it looks like. Damn it. And yes, I'm going to show you my fall in slow motion, however ridiculous it might make me look. Yeah. All right, I got the footage all loaded in. Let's look through it. I'll tell you what I think about it, and in the comments below, I want you guys to tell me what you think. All right, we're gonna jump to the footage. The first thing that I tested was the stabilization of the cameras. I walked, ran, and skateboarded with the cameras in both unstabilized and stabilized mode. All right, I just got down to the beach, and right away, having the screen on the front of the Osmo Action is super rad, because I can tell what I'm filming right now. I can see it. I'm gonna go through a series of tests with these cameras, both moving around and non-moving around. Right now, this is both cameras totally on auto. This is 4K 24 frames a second without stabilization, and without stabilization, this is what walking around looks like. I'm trying to hold it stable, so you'll see, you know, it's not horrendous, but this is for sure what you know, older GoPro footage, older action footage looked like. And I will switch to the stabilization now. And this is now both of them stabilized. So the DJI Osmo is using what they call rock steady, and the GoPro is using hyper smooth. Now, I can't tell from the tiny little screen on the Osmo right now, but from using the Hero in Maui, the footage just looked insane. It was like it was on a gimbal as I was walking. So everyone says that the Osmo looks even a little better than the hyper smooth. So in theory, this looks like gimbal footage right now on both cameras. You'll also notice that the DJI Osmo it's cropped in a tiny bit more. And in theory, that little extra crop is what gives it a little bit extra smoothness, because it's using that crop to kind of wobble out the frame and make up for any shake that I put into the system here. All right, once again, this is stabilization on both cameras turned off, and I'm gonna give you a little jog. Whew. So if you were running with either of these cameras with stabilization turned off, oh man, I'm sorry if any of you are vomiting right now. And this is stabilization turned back on with a little run. It's for sure better, but I don't know. I don't think you want to run with the GoPro or the Osmo Action. But you could. That stabilization on both of them is insane. I think the Osmo takes it though, because the background of the Osmo, it looked a little more steady. We'll move on to the skateboarding shot, and hopefully we'll see kind of how the background works with both of them. But as you're watching it, obviously I'm moving the frame, but what it's trying to do is stabilize the things that should be stable, which is the background for the most part. So watch this next clip while I skateboard, look at the background and compare the two as far as stabilization goes, mainly in the background. Check it out. All right, so once again, this is both cameras, 4K, 24 frames per second without stabilization. So you'll see that just using a pole gives you pretty good stabilization, but as you start kind of getting into more movements and more actions, like things like that, without stabilization, you're gonna see a lot more shake. Let's switch back to stabilization. All right, once again, this is both cameras with stabilization on, 4K, 24 frames a second. And in theory, it should be just super, super smooth, no matter what I do. That is crazy. That level of stabilization is just nuts. Even when you add the pole, it does give you some stabilization because your arm kind of becomes this like shock absorber a bit. But this level of stabilization it like breaks your brain. That is so good. And I think in the comparison, the Hero 7 is awesome, but the DJI Osmo's a little better. All right, both cameras at 4K, 60 frames a second. This is slow-mo. "60 frames a second looks pretty good on both cameras. At 60 frames a second, both cameras still maintain rock steady stabilization and hyper smooth stabilization. We're gonna jump down to 1080p, but we're gonna jump to 240 frames a second. And this is also when I fall off my skateboard. And finally, both cameras are cranked down to 1080p, but they're cranked up to 240 frames per second. So right now it's gonna look super wonky, but in a minute, it'll be slow-mo. and I broke the cool mount that mounts both the cameras next to each other. I almost pulled a potato jet right there. I broke my wing. I did not get hurt. I just made my hand red. A little scuff on my hand. Totally fine. I was okay. The GoPro and the Osmo, slight scratches, but still good. And the very last thing that I tested while I was down in PB trying to salvage my pride from falling on the boardwalk in front of a bunch of people was audio, mainly wind noise at speed. I know a lot of people use these for mountain biking. My buddy Weston, he mounts it to his chest, you know, he goes mountain bike with it on a gimbal and stuff like that. And one of the biggest complaints from mountain bikers, or really anyone that's kind of really moving quickly with their GoPro, has been wind noise. The Hero 5, 6, and 7, since they went waterproof, it's just been kind of with wind noise. That's why you usually have to get at least get these little wind muff things, and you stick them over the microphone ports. That cuts down on wind a little bit, makes the audio slightly better. Because I was kind of over the whole skateboard thing and I needed more speed, I rented one of the electric scooters, the Bird scooters. I got up to 20 miles an hour holding the Hero right here and 20 miles an hour holding the Osmo right here. Here's what the audio sounds like from those. All right, I switched to a Bird scooter since I ate chopa on my friggin' skateboard in the sand. But I'm gonna hold the Osmo close to my chest, like as if you were mountain biking, and then I'm gonna bomb as fast as this bird can go, and you'll hear what kind of wind noise this thing picks up. And that's 18 miles an hour. That is 20 miles an hour. 20 miles an hour. How did it sound wind-wise? All right, this is the GoPro Hero 7. Oh, it's already weird looking at the GoPro without a screen on it now. Now I'm already used to being able to see myself. All right, GoPro Hero 7, wind noise test. We'll see if we can hit 20 again. 18. And there's 20 miles an hour. All right, that was all out on the Bird scooter at 20 miles an hour. What did the wind noise sound like? This is kind of for you mountain bikers out there. I don't have a mountain bike, but yeah, going like 20 miles an hour. Sounds about right, doesn't it? Do you guys go 20 miles an hour down a trail? Weston, how fast do you go down a trail? 20? Faster? Both pretty meh. Neither one really excelled. There's a ton of wind noise. Could you get rid of some of that in post? Probably, but the wind noise is definitely there. I might have to test it again with wind muffs to see if that does anything, but in all reality, to get decent audio out of either of these, pretty sure you're gonna have to mount an external microphone. Just kinda how it goes. And the very last thing is battery life. They were about the same. I got about 75, 80 minutes out of both batteries. It wasn't really much of a difference. Battery test, it was a tie. All right, now for some final thoughts on the DJI Osmo Action. I have a lot more testing to do, that's for sure. I kept both of these cameras in almost fully automatic mode because I don't have ND filters for this one yet, so I didn't wanna throw an ND filter on the GoPro and then go into manual modes, and this one kind of have a disadvantage. So I will be doing a full comparison with ND filters. We'll be at the proper frame rates, all that different stuff. The Osmo Action has a mode called D-Cine-like, which is their flat mode. It's their kind of cinema color profile. And obviously the Hero has that flat profile that I've loved for so long. But for today's test, it feels like DJI made a Hero 7 Black, but like 3 to 5% better in almost every category. I think the footage from the Osmo Action is a little bit better. I think the stabilization from the Rocksteady is a little bit better. I think the colors are a little bit better. And I think the audio is a little bit better on the Osmo Action. But what's really, really different, and it sounds silly, but it's that front screen. That front screen is the user experience game changer. The Hero 7 is an incredible camera. If you own a Hero 7, does it make sense to move to the Osmo? Probably not. But if you don't have an action camera at all right now and you're looking to get one, I think it's the Osmo. One factor you can consider though is that the Osmo Action comes in at $350 and the Hero Black comes in at $400. So it's $50 cheaper, a little bit better. Is that it for today? I think that's it for today. I know this is already a long video. Hopefully it's helpful in you understanding the DJI Osmo and understanding how it compares to the Hero 7 Black. Again, like I said, I'm gonna do more videos with these two cameras as I get to use this camera a little bit more, get to know it a little bit more, get into the app, understand how that works versus how the GoPro app works. There's a lot to dig into on these two cameras. If you guys have not already during this super long video, hit the subscribe button. If this helps you out in any way, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, do all the things. And this channel is for sure going to hit 10,000 subscribers very soon with your guys' help. And I already have my 10,000 subscriber video planned, or have the idea. I know what I'm gonna do. I haven't done it yet, or filmed it, or like written it out or anything, but I now know what I'm gonna do. And it came to me at like 3 a.m. while I was laying on the floor in Eleanor's room, reaching up into her crib, handing her her binky back, because she sits there with her binky and then she goes and spits it out and then goes, nah, because she wants it back. So I lay on the ground and I go, and then I thought of it. This was a long video. I started filming this at like 9 a.m. today, and it's currently 9:14 p.m. because I had to go, you know, do the things in the middle, and then I had to import them and look at them, and yeah, I'm tired. Yeah, so DJI just pretty much made a GoPro. If I was GoPro, I'd be so pissed.